listen carefully, because if this message has reached you today, it's not by coincidence. October 24th marks a rare alignment, a shift between stillness and movement, where those who are awake receive what many have been unconsciously searching for. The ancient call it the quantum password, not a sequence of letters, but a vibration, a frequency that opens awareness beyond the surface of thought. For centuries, Shaolin monks guarded teachings that turned the body into a vessel of light and the mind into a mirror of truth. Those who found balance between breath and awareness discovered they could enter a state where time slowed, clarity expanded, and energy obeyed their intention. This was the hidden password, the inner key to mastery. In this video, I will reveal what that password truly means. You will learn how the smallest act of mindfulness can alter the frequency of your entire field. You will understand why discipline, not desire, determines power. And you will see how stillness is not the absence of motion, but the highest form of movement, the kind that shifts your reality from within. Stay until the end, because the password is not spoken, it is transmitted through understanding. Each word you hear carries a piece of the code that awakens the disciplined warrior within you. I am Heng. I speak to those ready to see through illusion and rise through awareness. If your soul feels drawn to this moment, it's because something ancient inside you is remembering. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire, where ancient wisdom meets the path of modern mastery. Join our circle by subscribing, and together we will walk the silent road towards self-mastery, one breath, one lesson, one awakening at a time. The path begins where comfort ends. Discipline is the first gate, and most never walk through it. They seek freedom in choice, but the masters discovered freedom in commitment. At the Shaolin temple, every breath, every movement, every silence is a practice. The body learns to obey awareness, not impulse. The mind learns to follow purpose, not desire. I remember my early training, the mornings before sunrise, when the cold would pierce the skin and the body would resist. Every muscle screamed to stop, yet that resistance became my first teacher. It showed me how the mind creates boundaries that do not exist. Through discipline, those boundaries began to dissolve. You see, the quantum password is not unlocked through knowledge. It is confirmed through consistency. When you keep your word, not to the world, but to yourself, the code begins to recognize you. Life starts to respond differently. Energy aligns, because integrity has weight in the unseen. Shaolin monks say, "He who cannot hold posture cannot hold peace." This is more than physical training, it's spiritual structure. The breath steadies the thoughts shape the actions, and the actions carve the destiny. Discipline is the thread connecting all three. Freedom then is not the absence of rules, it is the mastery of them. When you move with awareness, you are not confined, you are refined. Every choice becomes deliberate, every moment intentional. The one who is disciplined no longer fights against life, he flows within its rhythm. To walk this path is to remember the sacred promise between your will and your word. When they become one, the password opens quietly, not as reward but as recognition. This is where freedom begins, in the still strength of discipline. Attention is the most valuable thing you own, yet it slips away more easily than breath. In the modern world, distractions whisper from every direction. Screens, noise, thoughts that pull like unseen hands. Each moment you surrender attention to them, it is as though you've entered the wrong password. The system of your inner world rejects alignment. Confusion multiplies. Energy scatters. In the ancient Shaolin halls, monks trained not only the body but the mind's focus. A single candle flame could become the center of the universe. Hours passed, yet awareness did not drift. They understood that what you repeatedly give attention to becomes your reality. Attention is the builder, shaping your inner architecture one thought at a time. When attention is fractured, the mind becomes a room full of echoes. But when you gather it, gently, patiently, your awareness sharpens. You begin to see what once hid in plain sight, the subtle pulse of life behind every breath, every emotion, every decision. This is where mastery begins. Mindful attention works like a craftsman polishing a mirror. Every time you return your focus to the present moment, the mirror clears. Old patterns, fear, restlessness, self-doubt start to dissolve. The software of your being rewrites itself through observation. The more you notice, the less you are controlled by habit. True mastery is not about controlling the mind through force. It is about reclaiming attention with care, with devotion. You direct it like water flowing through stone, persistent, patient, inevitable. Over time, that flow carves new pathways in your consciousness. When attention aligns with purpose, distractions lose their pull. The inner system recognizes the correct password, and what was once chaotic becomes clear, precise, and alive with quiet power. The body is not separate from the mind. It is the temple through which awareness speaks. In the Shaolin path, movement and meditation are not two different practices. They are one rhythm, one breath. Each strike, each still posture, each inhalation is a lesson in unity. The monks call this embodied mindfulness, the art of awakening through the body itself. When you anchor attention in the breath, you enter the present without effort. The mind softens, the senses sharpen, and the noise of thought begins to fade. The breath becomes the bridge between the visible and the invisible, between the form you inhabit and the energy that sustains it. This is the password's true upload signal. Awareness carried on the wind of breath, transmitted through the discipline of the body. In training, the lesson is simple yet profound. When the body moves, the mind follows. When the body stills, the mind mirrors that stillness. Every kick, every stance, every deep exhale teaches presence. Over time, the body remembers what the mind forgets, that peace is not something you find, but something you embody. Even outside the temple, this truth applies. Walking, working, breathing, each can become a meditation when done with attention. The ordinary act transforms into sacred practice. You are no longer lost in the current of time. You stand at its center. Through the harmony of body and breath, energy begins to circulate freely, unblocked and alive. The mind no longer commands, it listens. The body no longer resists, it responds. In that balance, the password activates, awareness expands, presence deepens, and life itself becomes the meditation. This is the gate every seeker must walk through, the quiet unity of movement, breath, and being. Every path to mastery passes through two gates, the hard and the soft, the still and the moving. Most people choose one and reject the other. They cling to strength but fear surrender, or seek peace but avoid challenge. Yet the Shaolin way teaches that both poles are essential. Harmony is not found in choosing sides, but in balancing their rhythm. In the temple, a monk may train for hours until sweat becomes silence. Muscles ache, breath burns, yet within that intensity lies a profound calm. The harder the practice, the deeper the stillness required to sustain it. The body becomes strong, but the heart remains gentle. This is the paradox that unlocks the quantum password, the understanding that softness completes strength and stillness gives power to motion. When you lean too far into hardness, pride and resistance take root. When you lean too deep into softness, discipline begins to fade. The wise learn to stand in the middle, firm in purpose, flexible in spirit. The password responds not to extremes, but to equilibrium. Think of your own life. Where do you push too hard? Where do you avoid the tension that growth demands? To live between polarities is to stay awake to both forces, the storm and the silence, the warrior and the sage. In this balance, every action is informed by awareness, and every rest nourishes intention. You do not chase outcomes, you align with rhythm. The Shaolin masters call this moving meditation, the state where stillness breathes through motion and motion deepens stillness. When the two merge, life becomes whole again. The quantum password recognizes that integration. It opens not through effort or surrender alone, but through the graceful dance between both. There comes a moment on the path when strength and technique are no longer enough. The next lesson is inward, to become the watcher of your own mind. This is the quiet art of inner observership. It begins when you stop identifying with the movement of thought and start witnessing it. You no longer say, I am angry, but instead I notice that anger is arising. That small shift opens an immense doorway. In the Shaolin teachings, this awareness is called the mirror mind, clear, reflective, untouched by the images that pass before it. Thoughts appear and dissolve like clouds in an open sky, but the sky itself remains unchanged. The more you practice this witnessing, the more you realize how much of your life has been spent reacting rather than seeing. The observer is the one who reclaims the power lost in reactivity. When emotion swells, breathe, observe the surge without judgment. When desire whispers, watch it gently until it fades. In that watching, a new kind of strength emerges, not the force of control, but the peace of understanding. The mind begins to recognize itself, and this recognition rewrites your inner code. The password comes alive here, in the act of pure noticing. Shaolin masters train for years to cultivate this awareness even in motion. Striking, breathing, meditating, all become vehicles for observation. The body acts, but the mind watches. The monk is both the dancer and the witness of the dance. To witness the watcher is to remember your true nature, unshaken, awake, limitless. Every time you shift from I have this thought to I see this thought, you rise one level higher in consciousness. The password doesn't just open the gate, it reveals that you were the gate all along. The ego is a clever architect. It builds walls made of memories, opinions, and fears, then convinces you that the walls are who you are. It craves recognition, protection, and control. Yet these desires become the very chains that bind the spirit. In the Shaolin and Chan traditions, true mastery begins when the walls start to fall. The warrior turns inward, not to destroy the ego, but to see through it. When this seeing happens, something soft and luminous emerges, the true self. It does not shout, it moves quietly, guided by clarity rather than pride. The quantum password does not amplify the ego's voice. It dissolves it. What remains is essence, pure awareness, expressing itself through human form. In training, this transformation often comes after exhaustion. When the body has no strength left to pretend and the mind grows too tired to argue, what remains is simple presence. The monk breathes and moves, but without effort, without self-consciousness. The act becomes expression, not performance. This is what it means to move from ego to essence, to live as an instrument of awareness, not as the story you tell about yourself. Ask yourself, what would I do if I were not afraid of being seen? That question cuts through illusion. Fear of judgment is the ego's last defense. But once it fades, authenticity flows like water, natural, effortless, unrepeatable. When the ego dissolves, action becomes clean. You no longer act to prove, but to serve. No longer speak to impress, but to express truth. The Shaolin masters say, the true warrior fights no one, not even himself. In that surrender, you find the freedom to simply be. And that being, untouched and whole, is the essence the password reveals. Great transformation is never born from sudden bursts of effort. It grows quietly in the soil of repetition. In Shaolin tradition, even the smallest movement holds sacred weight. Sweeping the temple floor, folding robes, lighting incense, these are not chores but rituals. Each action, done with full presence, becomes a mirror for the mind. Through repetition, the invisible becomes visible. The ordinary becomes holy. The ancients understood that discipline is not built through grand gestures, but through constancy. The same stance practiced 1,000 times becomes more than muscle memory. It becomes soul memory. The monk no longer performs the movement performs him. This is how ritual encodes mastery into the body. It is the password's strongest encryption, the quiet power of consistency. Every day you repeat an action, you send a signal into the field of consciousness. The universe listens not to your wishes, but to your patterns. The question then is not, what do I desire, but what do I practice? For what you practice, you become. There is deep wisdom in making your smallest habits sacred. A mindful breath before speaking, a moment of stillness before sleep, a morning stretch offered in gratitude. When repeated with awareness, These tiny acts become threads weaving your inner strength into daily life. Ask yourself, what tiny act today affirms my mastery? It could be the way you stand, the way you breathe, the way you choose patience instead of reaction. In time, these invisible rituals reshape the landscape of your being. The Shaolin path teaches that enlightenment is not found in distant temples, it hides inside your daily rhythm. Every action, when offered with attention, becomes a prayer written in motion. Mastery is not reserved for the mat, the temple, or the quiet hall. It lives in the steps you take, the words you speak, the pauses you allow between thoughts. In the Shaolin tradition, every action carries weight, and every moment is an opportunity to practice presence. The true student learns that life itself is the dojo, and each day is the teacher. Breathing while walking, listening while speaking, noticing while walking, these are not small details. They are the subtle codes of awareness that shape reality. The quantum password does not activate only in ritual or ceremony. It responds to the quality of attention in ordinary life. How you meet frustration, how you carry your body through space, how you respond to discomfort, all of it becomes practice. It is easy to wait for the perfect conditions, a quiet room, the right time, the absence of distraction. Yet the highest mastery reveals itself in imperfection. The wind may blow, the mind may wander, and the world may intrude, and still, presence can be sustained. This is the art of integration, to carry the calm of meditation into movement, the clarity of mindfulness into speech, and the steadiness of discipline into every choice. Observe your day as a series of invitations. Each challenge asks for patience. Each interruption calls for awareness. Each decision offers the chance to act consciously. Balance is not about avoiding chaos. It is about meeting it with steadiness. When the body, mind, and breath move in harmony, even the smallest acts become expressions of mastery. Walking to the market, washing dishes, listening to a friend, these are the gates through which presence flows. Mastery waits for no one, and the password is always active. The imperfect now is the perfect opportunity to embody it. True mastery is never a solitary achievement. In the Shaolin way, the path of self-discipline and awareness extends beyond the self. A monk's strength is measured not only in skill or endurance, but in the calm he brings to others, the clarity he anchors in his environment. The inner field, once cultivated, radiates outward like ripples across still water. When mastery is confined to personal gain, it becomes brittle. But when applied in service, it transforms. A steady mind can soothe tension in another. A disciplined body can inspire courage. A mindful presence can awaken awareness in those around you. The quantum password carries this code within it. Self-mastery is not a destination, but a source of contribution. The more you refine yourself, the more you elevate the field you inhabit. Consider your own life. How does your calm influence your family, your colleagues, your community? Where does your presence bring clarity, patience, or strength? The question is not whether you are capable, but whether you allow your mastery to flow outward. When you act from a place of awareness, even the smallest gesture becomes a conduit for balance and peace. This ripple effect moves silently but persistently. One disciplined breath, one intentional word, one measured action. These touch the unseen layers of your world. The people around you may not recognize it consciously, yet the energy shifts, calm spreads, insight grows, harmony deepens. Ask yourself, when I master myself, what do I serve? Who do I uplift? Mastery that rests in isolation is incomplete. True power expresses itself in connection, in contribution, in the quiet, consistent act of elevating life around you. In this way, the password is not simply a key to personal awakening, it is a code for raising the frequency of the world itself. The password is not written on paper, nor spoken aloud, it lives quietly in the rhythm of your life. Discipline, attention, body and mind, witnessing, habit, balance, service, each is a key, and together they form the code. Alone, they are fragments. Woven into practice, they become the gateway. The password is not a single moment of insight, but a living current that flows through every breath, every choice, every gesture. Discipline trains the body and sharpens the mind, but without attention it drifts. Attention steadies the mind, but without awareness of the body, it remains abstract. Witnessing teaches observation, yet without habit, insight fades. Balance integrates all opposites, and service extends mastery beyond the self. Each element is a strand, and the password is the braid, strong, flexible, and alive. On October 24th, the energy of this alignment offers a subtle invitation. It is not a magic key to unlock instant transformation. It is a call to remember what you already carry. When you move through the day with conscious breath, deliberate action, and quiet presence, the password activates. It resonates in the smallest acts, a steady posture, a mindful word, a patient pause. This mode of being is not reserved for rituals or special practice. It walks with you in the market, at work, in the quiet moments before sleep. It is a living current, always present, waiting for recognition. Carry it consciously. Notice how your attention shapes your energy. Observe how discipline and habit reinforce one another. Let balance guide your action. Extend mastery through service. The password is no longer hidden. It lives in your presence, in the way you breathe, in the choices you make, and in the calm strength that radiates from within. On October 24th and beyond, it is yours to embody. You have received the quantum password, a key not to some distant gate, but to the door that has always been within you. The wisdom of the Shaolin masters shows us that the body and breath guide the mind, attention points the way, and discipline opens the path to true freedom. Mastery is not about perfection, but about harmonizing opposites, strength and softness, action and stillness, while extending your awareness and care beyond yourself. Take these lessons into your day. Move with presence, breathe with intention, observe your thoughts without judgment, and honor the small rituals that shape your being. Let discipline guide you, attention focus you, and balance steady you in every moment. Each conscious choice, no matter how small, becomes a thread in the fabric of mastery. Carry this awareness into your interactions, your work, your rest, and notice how your presence quietly shifts the world around you. The quantum password is alive in these moments, awakening clarity, calm, and power from within. As you step forward, let your life reflect the code you carry. Be patient, be present, and let your actions, words, and breath be the proof of the wisdom you embody. Thank you for joining us on this journey. For more guidance on inner mastery and ancient wisdom, subscribe to Shaolin Soulfire and continue walking the path with awareness, discipline, and heart. May peace and clarity guide you always.